What's good, YouTube? And welcome to the house. We haven't had to talk about this one since the Stimmy check buyouts, besides, Triff getting banned on Dueling Book for it at some point, and poor taste jokes, you still want to shake my hand in the world situation? Yu-Joe Friendship has iconic art of Yami Yugi and Joey shaking hands, and has one of the funniest effects in the game, but why it's spot out is Judgment of the Pharaoh. By the way, if you're in Central America, South America, EU, you don't have to worry about this combo. You still haven't had a reprint of this where you can actually play it. Pay half of your life points, select and activate an appropriate effect which can be applied. If Yu-Joe Friendship is in your graveyard until the end of this turn, your opponent cannot normal summon, set, flip summon, or special summon a monster or monsters, or activate a monster's effect, and their monster effects are negated. That is an insane list of you cannots for a floodgate, and with 3 Trap Trick, 3 of this, you have Beatrice and V-Dub. I think it's blown out of proportion even then, but it still sounds really cool on paper and feels good to pull off, and memes equal money and flashbang results. I think it's still just ridiculous. I can't even keep a straight face, and when we put a price tag of $200 to this, when the max sales were 80 before, and you see people actually spending even past that, 95, 80, 40s, and 60s all the way through the buyout, you have a lot of people spending money either on hopium that this will go up and continue as a collectible as people talk about it again, or they're actually wanting to do this to people in the remote Thule locals and that sort of thing, which I don't blame them, but for the price, it's just not worth it anymore. Look at this. You have the lowest of these at 75s, and the actual sales hitting 50s. This is insane to me, but again, as somebody who's been around all this time, I can say there's some of the coolest art, adding the characters to actual Yu-Gi-Oh cards that has a demand. Also, poor Unity left out here. Judgment of the Pharaoh has a second effect. If Unity is in your graveyard until the end of this turn, negate the effects of all spell and trap cards on your opponent's side of the field, and your opponent cannot activate set spell or trap cards. So this is kind of neat. Until the end of the turn is a turn-long floodgate. You could side Unity, guys. Look, depending on your matchup, it's a huge answer, right? And this card actually has a downward graph over time. It's just not as cool and iconic. It's the friendship moment that we all make fun of and cringe, and Duke Devlin is somehow there. I feel like it's still a pretty cool card art, and when it comes down to it, the near mints are still selling for around 10. You have very few listings under that at around $9, so this downward graph is just a lot of people settling for light plays or mod plays in order to go, well, yeah, I just want the cards for my collection. I like it for the art. I'll pay a little bit less for it. When we look at DDDs, I guess there's a combo that really uses Baphomet. Let me know in the comment section down below if this is the optimal way as he's seen a buyout. It does DDD lock you. Once per turn, you can target a DDD monster you control that has a level except for Baphomet, and declare a level of 1 through 8. It becomes that level till the end of this turn, but you cannot special summon monsters the rest of the turn except DD monsters. So it's the rest of the turn. It locks you at that point in the combo if you are doing it. Let me know if it's somehow worth it, and if you have this common, you might have some more money that you didn't know you had. I don't think I even used to pull this guy out of bulk when I was pulling out all the DDD cards. So that's one that I would have actually missed in terms of pulling out in modern bulk. Prank Kids Rip, Roar, and Roaster is no longer just a coaster, it's going to the moon! Team Sam, I told you, as Prank Kids got a lot of reprints, this was one of them that was missed, and only has one printing still, and the deck does like to have access to it. It's around $3.50 towards $4 rather quickly, as it spikes up here. Now, do I expect it to stay? It might float back down to $2.50 too, but I do think it'll stay up in price versus the previous penny stonk-ish that it was, and it's still there depending on if Prank Kids can do it. Never sleep on that deck, but it has its uphill battles with the current ban list. I do like Prank Kids a lot, and I think they get a huge boost as we head towards the Yusha token being released, Hero, Brave, whatever you want to call it, upcoming. Now this one I have no clue on. Reaper of Prophecy, please fill me in because this effect is really bad. Yes, it's a spellbook card, maybe something with Dark Magician, I don't know. When this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect and apply as many effects based on the number of spellbook spell cards that have different names in the grave. You can only use this effect once per turn. 3 or more, this card gains 600 attack. Oh boy. 4 or more, add a spellbook spell card from your deck to your hand. You don't really have trouble doing that in the first place in spellbooks. 5 or more, special summon 1 level 5 or higher dark spellcaster type monster from your deck. That's pretty good, including himself, so you could overlay or do other things. It's still a hard once per turn on the effect, but let me know what they're actually playing it in, because there's other spellcasters. I remember one of the Fleur ones. There's really good ones overall, and I feel like this isn't the craziest. And yo, shout out to Aztec here, top rated seller, just saying, yo, go ahead and have it. I don't care, you crazy kids. I love seeing relistings like this instead of like, yo, $50, $20, please buy. I hope somebody slips up. Shoutouts to this guy on the end of this buyout being a realistic seller. I love to see that. Next up, we have you might have noticed I've been using it, the graphs appearing on my screen for all of the sales rates. So we were going to talk about pre-sales a little bit, and look at this history. We pointed, we laughed all together, but it's almost sad the people that had their money ripped from them on Crossout Designator, and you just see it continue to go down and down. But then access code talkers looks way cleaner than it has any business doing, because it's sold around for, you know, $50, $60 over here, 55 at the lowest sale, and now it's 65, so it's a short lifespan, but realistically not that big of a jump. You could have bought it pre-sales from other places such as the sponsors around 35, 40 if you recall. And then Baronet, she is actually pretty good over here, where she dipped to 87, 88 at one point and then really skyrocketed up and is settling around the 110. So you can see pre-sales are sometimes worth it, but you have to think about and choose the cards. Very few cards in a set will appreciate over time unless the set's just busted and underestimated, and you have to think about estimated value pulled too. The sealed product has a value as it's ripped open, how much sealed product will still sit there and be able to be open, versus which cards aren't really worth it to open the product for, yet we'll see a lot of play. Baronet, one of them. Access code short printed, one of them. Crossout Designator, while it can see a lot of play, is an option for deck building that does have smoke and hype behind it, just isn't worth freaking the $100 some odd. So when we look at Brothers of Legend, ask yourself what's going to see a lot of play, what's shorted. Droplets unfortunately up there. Magician Soul's getting some traction here too early in terms of sales, kind of. You see the graph is down, but more so what's important is the sales rate. Huge sales rates on this card over here. It'll be interesting to see if this pulls a Crossout Designator and dips, but then comes back up at Battle of Chaos, or if it's going to level out here. Where is Magician Soul's going to go? It's kind of more of a question on that than Droplet, which we're already seeing Sag mode at around $100. I'm a lot more curious to see where this will go. So again, with pre-sales, formulate your own game plan. There's no, is this worth it? Will this go up? Will this go down? There's a lot of things that will go both up and down over time, long-term calls, those sorts of things. Everybody wants to buy those optimal places, and if we all knew where that was, it wouldn't be the optimal place anymore, would it? People would play around that. So what I want to emphasize to you, not a financial advisor channel, try to use your deck building brain, your meta brain, not just your market brain when it comes to pre-sales, and that can get you in trouble long term in the market. But with pre-sales, I think it's the place where it gets the most rewarded. Also, speaking of the forbidden cards, Ulti Chalice is on another level right now. The Unlim sold out at 150s, and the lowest first ed, which is still light, playlisted at 330. This is just a crazy show to watch. Nearmint first sold at 340, but what's also interesting on Droplet is actually the ultra rares, as I misspell it. Forbidden Droplet. Live editing done cheap here on House of Champs. Chalice. You gotta love it. Ultra Droplet is actually just crazy in terms of what it's going for. And somebody brought this to me on Twitter today going, well, what do I do with these? And then he told me he actually made a deal he couldn't refuse on them. But Light Plays, even Unlimited, sold at 65. Now, I think that's a bit of overspending, but Unlim's going near mint 70, 75 is crazy to me for mid to max Unlim. And the true mid-max first edition here is towards $100. In all my time playing, I haven't seen anything like this, where it would be just the ulti, and this might go towards like 30, but $100, we're in a new age of people paying for things like this. Like Dashers, I've actually started to move some from my ultimate rare collection to people in the Discord/stream. I think getting back half the value on that buy would be foolish not to do, and what I'm doing is actually selling these for around 200-ish instead of 300, but watching this level of, you could just play Plasma instead 5-head, and it's probably proper for certain decks. Well, it's here at 305, 310 for minimal advantages in decks where it could barely win you a game in certain situations. I really don't think it's worth it, and you're often banishing it for Celestial. But look at this, 310s, 350s, actual sales in the crazy numbers, and this guy actually had a very, very slightly damaged one. I think it had the whiting on the top. Yeah, right there. Barely. It's pretty much near mint. He was selling for 200, but sold the same picture twice. And we see the rest of the sales are at 320, 320, 300. Unlims going around that $210 mark. We're just in a new age of people going for either max to crazy levels while a metagame goes on, and mid-max really seeing a new age for itself. Also, I don't know why these are specifically bought out, but Ultimate Rare Dreadmaster, do remember the upper deck fakes, I believe, exist on this one, as well as the DR4. So they're an official fake with the silver stamp, but you can't play with it. Keep that in mind. This card is ridiculously out there for true first editions. Man, and that's all I can remember with this guy is you used it in Exodia decks with trade-in, so maybe there's a new purpose with the new D-Hero engines, but DR4 going skyrocketing as well to crazy proportions, and it's not even from recent sales, it's just not around. So let me know why Dreadmaster would be so high. Is it those old bad Exodia decks, or is there another reason? But talking about mid-max, ultra rare, unlimited, market price 5. Let's see where he's actually at for a listing. Around $10, so double its quote-unquote market price with first ed. 20 to 30, more like you'd expect for a collectible. And I wanted to point at Gold Series, a lot of prices are going down, so if you've been waiting to shop, use that TCG player link in the description down below, costing you nothing extra to support the channel directly for the cards you'd already be buying, as I understand that New York should be seeing their cards around this week. Gamers Choice and Daily did PSAs that there were delays. They should be hopefully seeing them in this week and starting to ship. You can check their socials to see their statements, and also Konami made a statement that, hey, it's going to be delayed in some areas. But with competition starting to rise up, people are starting to see theirs, as I understand it. We do see stuff like Verte go from 18 down towards 15s, and this is a card that has really big sales rates, though, and an engine that's probably not going away on the ban list. And other cards in the set really start to just go up and down, up and down. This has been nothing but up for Masquerena. The waifu tax is real. Invocation now under $10 very solidly, though, and it doesn't look like it's going to be shooting up as competition goes. And finally, just a little market theorio. I heard from an EU vendor that people are suddenly opening Burst of Destiny because Small World's up, and it helps their EVP, estimated value pulled. I feel like your opportune time would have still been earlier in the set's life when Mo Yi was more towards 50-60. Lord is about back to where it is, Lord of the Heavenly Prison, back towards like 25-ish, is a little above 20, but I still feel like estimated value pulled was better earlier. Like, this was more towards 20-ish. These were more towards 8. Flundery's map is still way cheaper here in the US than the EU, though, to be fair. So you guys have some different EVP, estimated value pulled, to think about. So what do you think about Burst of Destiny? 72 a box. I think you could see it age like some of the great sets like Eternity Code, but remember, those were also shorted in production. Thanks for watching today's Market Watch. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the conversation. And thanks to listening to me ramble and live editing done cheap by John the Moore as he boomers out over Forbidden Droplet. Seriously, top tier content over here. Am I right?